Hey, how y'all doing out there in YouTube land? This is Stiletto and Juno coming at you from the Wild Wild West. And today we're making a video, just a little bonus video, other than the series I've been doing. But this is just a little bonus video because I was just thinking about it. And it's going to be on serrated, my serrated folders from Cold Steel that I really like. So that's what this video is all about, serrated folders. And as soon as Juno gets off the table, I know she wants to make her appearance. My co-host. She's doing good, everybody. Anybody that's been concerned, she's doing really good. So I passed the stage of being worried about her. She's back to normal. Back to normal. She's my normal girl again. That's my baby. All right. You gonna come off the table there, kiddo? Come on, huh? No? You don't want to come out the table? You just want to sit on the table? Okay, we'll make the video about you. We'll show everybody your belly. How's that? We'll show everybody your belly. Yes, my girl. Yes, she is. Yes, my girl. Okay. All right, sweetie. You gotta get up. Come on. Come on. That's my baby. All right. All right. So what we got going on here? Most of my favorite ones are the megas, because I think of cold steel serrations as, you know, ideal for defensive knives. Uh-oh, Juno's rubbing against the tripod stand there, so it's gonna make the camera vibrate. Come over here, sweetie. Okay. But I think it's like mostly for self-defense purpose, and the knives I consider my most, desirable self-defense knives for me anyway, are the mega folders. But I also like these too as self-defense options when you're just trying to get away from somebody, not necessarily like, I don't know, because I don't think they're the great stabbers or anything like that. Let me put it like that. I think these are good for like, making cuts or whatever to deter somebody from wanting to keep on attacking you and giving you a chance to get away, especially if you cut like an ankle tendon or something like that. They won't be able to chase after you. And I think that's what these are great for too. This is the newest one to the bunch. Absolutely love it. This is 2108, I think it was. Yep, 2108. The one I got for $97 from Midway on the recent sale that's still going on. I think they still have these for $99. Everywhere else on the internet, you'll find these that they're well over $200, $200 to maybe like even in the $300 and something range. So this is an awesome deal if you've been wanting one of these. Still a great deal. I think this is one of the best self-defense folders in the 4.5-inch blade range, 4-inch. The 4.5-inch blade range, what I would call a large folder, that's available. Nobody's going to be able to pull this out your hand. With the Copas handle and blade, this is an awesome knife. Awesome knife. It's got S35VN blade with a American G10 OD green G10 handle. It doesn't have any liners in it. It's made like the old Cold Steels with just a real thick G10 handle scales or frame and everything. Scales or frame, whatever you want to call them. With a G10 backspacer. It's got a 4.8 millimeter thick blade stock. Full flat ground. Copa style blade. It's not a kukri style. That's not Nepalese kukri. It's a Greek Copas. The 300, the Spartan. I know we've all probably seen that movie. But this is designed after that. Okay, sweetie, you gotta get down. Gotta get down, kiddo. All right. So that's the first one up. Let's wipe off the blade a little bit. This one stays in my rotation drawer. It stays out. It gets carried. One of my favorite new motorcycle knives. I like to carry one around my motorcycle. Next up, the Black Talon II. The Black Talon II. If I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be either like a Eagle Talon, claw, or hawk claw or whatever. The bird of prey claw. That's what this blade designed after. They got permission to make this blade from Spyderco, because Spyderco has the same type of blade, and they didn't want to run into patent pending or anything like that, type problem. So Cold Steel went and got permission to make this blade. This is a Talon II because the first one was a custom shop model. I think it was a liner lock, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been a back lock, but I don't think it wasn't a triad lock though, because I think it was maybe before they had triad locks. And it had like the polished bolsters and G10 handle, just like the Espadas have. It's a very fancy knife. It's highly collectible now. They're very hard to find, and when you do find them, they're very expensive. Very, very expensive. But this is mine. I like this one the better though, because it's thinner, it's lighter, and it serves to me, thin. When you're talking about self-defense folders, I like to be able to carry things concealed. I don't want things bulging out my pocket or anything like that. And I prefer them to be really lightweight too, if possible. Lightweight without losing a whole lot of strength or whatever. Because strength in the lock and everything else is important too. And with American G10 handle scales, because these are linerless also. These just have G10 slabs. But this one has the 6061 aluminum backspacer. But this one here has the Snaggletooth MF cog ring on it. That's a modification that's on this one. And it's all been polished internally and everything, so it's like super smooth. Because when you first get these, I can't remember I don't think this one was like a super smooth knife. It needed a little bit of my special tuning. And I polished the spine of the blade, the lock bar. The lock bar's been completely polished inside and out, and the top of the spine and top of the Andrew Demko thumb plate. This is a knife I carry too. This one stays out. This is not a safe queen. This one's been out ever since I've had it. I personally like to carry this one and the Tiger Claw when I go to the gym. I don't carry it around in the gym, but I carry it to the gym because it's works with my sweatpants really good. When I wear sweatpants and ride on my motorcycle to the gym. These draw really nice out of sweatpants. Your front right sweatpants pocket. Got a little tongue tied there. And that's why I put the cog ring on this one, because the cog ring makes it really easy to draw. I don't use the cog ring like a karambit knife. I like the cog ring because I can extend my grip. So it gives me a whole lot of reach right there. Or I can come in a standard grip if I want to. But one of the big purposes of the cog ring on these knives, to me, is for like drawing the knife out of your pocket. Makes it really easy to draw out your pocket. This one's a CTS-XHP blade, it's the original ones. G10 handle scales, and it has a Snaggletooth MF cog ring on it. It's been polished inside and out. I didn't polish the flats of this part of the blade, but I did polish this part of the blade. This part of the blade has been polished. And the way I did that is I taped this all off so I wouldn't accidentally polish it. I took the knife completely apart. I taped this part all off, and I didn't wet sand this at all. I just polished it with buffing compound just to make it a little bit shinier, to match the spine and everything. So it doesn't have a mirror polish on it, just it makes it look a little bit nicer. And I had the plain edge in this one too, but the plain edge ones I've never used, because I think these kind of knives are most effective when you have the serrations on them. Next up, my little Tiger Claw. I know when these were first going to come out, I was so excited about these because I've been watching Doug Makita and him doing all this stuff on YouTube and everything else like that. This is before they had Forged in Fire. And I just, wanted to get into the karambits, but I'm not a liner lock person. All the liner lock knives, all the karambit knives were always liner locks. And so I didn't want to get one of those kind of knives. And then when I heard Andrew Demko was going to make his version of a karambit with the, and it wasn't going to be the triad lock at first. It was going to be a different kind of lock that he never did end up putting into production. I can't remember the name of it. But he switched over, because I had this one pre-ordered with the other kind of lock at the Knife Center, and it ended up not getting produced, and they produced the triad version. And so this is the one I received. This is one of the first ones that were out. And I got the trainer and everything else like that, and I got the fixed blade Tiger Claw. I got 2 of those, and I got a trainer because I was trying to, figure out how to do that. And I was okay with the trainer, but it seemed like every time I went to a live blade, I always end up stabbing myself in the arm, flipping it, swinging it around and stuff like that. So I stopped doing that. I stopped, because I'm not the person that's going to dull my edges and stuff on a perfectly good knife and stuff like that. So I lots of times I'll get the plastic or the, what do you call them, the Griv-Ex or whatever, not the Griv-Ex, but the Griv-Ex or Zytel trainers that Cold Steel makes. I have a whole bunch of those for a whole bunch of different kind of knives. Those are the kind of things I like to practice with first, and build up my confidence that I can do something with a live blade. It's a lot safer like that, people. You don't hurt yourself as much. If you start off training with live blades, lots of times you get cut. I know, because I've been there. I've been cut a lot of times by myself. Nobody stabbed me more than I stabbed myself. Trying to learn how to to handle knives and manipulate knives in my hands. But the Tiger Claw, this is an awesome knife. It's a 3.5-inch blade. Oh, this one is like about a 4 1/4 inch blade. Let me measure. I can't remember exactly what it is. Yeah, 4 1/4, and this one's almost 4.5. What is just under 4.5 inches. And this one is a 3.5, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 3.5 inches. The Tiger Claw. Now I also have, this is CTS-XHP. I got it at the same time I got the Black Talon II. Actually, no, the Black Talon II, I got this one after I got this one. But it wasn't much longer after I got this one. I got these first, the plain edge and the serrated edge, and I ended up only carrying the serrated edge. This one's had the same treatment as my Black Talon II. The spine has been completely polished. The thumb plates, the top side of the thumb plate is polished. The spine of the blade is polished, and also polished the what do you call it? The saber part of the blade where it goes down into its edge. And I taped off. This was totally taken apart, and I taped off this part right here because I didn't want to polish that part. That's the way I did this one. This one's been carried a ton of times. This one and the Talon II, I've carried this one the most. Because it meets all the rules and regulations in a lot of areas. If I have to carry a 3.5-inch blade, lots of times I want to carry this one. At least that's the way it used to be. Now I have a lot more 3.5-inch choices. Like my 8010 Tonto, I absolutely love that knife. But if I wanted to carry a serrated blade, this would be one I would carry. Why would I pick this one for my 3.5-inch blade? Because when you pull this out and people see it, their eyes light up. Because it looks totally menacing. It's great for the art of fighting without fighting. Scares people away. They don't want no piece of it. Absolutely love it. And it's probably like one of the only 3.5-inch blades that really does that. I mean, it's just because people seen the karambits and everything like that on TV, and with the professionals like Doug Makita using them and stuff like that, so they automatically think that you might be that person too, even though you're not. Well, in my case, I'm not. In my case, I'm not. Next up, oh yeah, we're gonna get into it. As y'all know, I've been a Ti-Lite 6 person. The Ti-Lite 6s are some of the first knives that I ever bought from Cold Steel. The first knife I ever bought from Cold Steel, I think, was my Archangels. I eventually sold those for a really great price. And the next knives I got were the Ti-Lite the Ti-Lites. And they were like a 4-inch blade with a titanium handle made in Seiki, Japan. And they're absolutely beautiful knives. I still have one. I bought 2 and I sold one to one of my buddies I prospected with in an old motorcycle club back in the day. And he's passed away now. And I still have my other one. I never used it. It's like a brand new knife. But then after that, right, not too long after that, a couple years after those, I think those came out in 2001. I can't remember when the Ti-Lite 6s came out, but when the Ti-Lite 6s came out, I was all over them. Why? Because I've always been a stiletto person. Before I got into a lot of these other knives, I used to like Italian style stilettos. Or not Italian style, but Italian stilettos. And switchblades. And had a big giant collection of those. I still have a big giant collection of the manual ones because I don't really sell too many of the manual ones. I mainly just got rid of all the autos because I got in a motorcycle accident. I found out how illegal those things were, and you end up in prison behind them just for carrying them, get caught carrying them by law enforcement. So I decided just to get rid of them because at that time, I didn't see a whole lot of need in keeping something I couldn't carry. And the only illegal knives I did keep that I used to carry were like my butterfly knives because those were so expensive. And I spent a lot of money on those. I didn't want to sell them. And so I still have all those knives. I have a lot of butterfly knives and balisong knives made by Benchmade and Microtech and I don't know, and Monarch, and I know just a whole lot of companies that I don't even think really even exist anymore. But I started collecting those like in the late 80s, and I had most of them come from the 90s, the ones I have, and stopped in the 2000s. Actually stopped around I'd say like the 2000s, because even after I stopped carrying them, I still collected them for a few more years. But absolutely love the Italian stilettos, and this is my Italian stiletto that I like to carry. I shouldn't call it Italian stiletto. It's made in Taiwan by Cold Steel, American company. It's not from Maniago, Italy, from Beltrami or Campolin or Latimer. Absolutely love it though. And this one's got the serrations. This is the modern one, the serrations, Japanese AUS 10A steel. It's got the modern Zytel handles. The original Zytel handles look different than these. But this is the one I like to carry. If I carry a knife now that, it's a Ti-Lite 6, this is the one I carry. This one stays in my rotation drawer. All these knives are in my rotation drawer. They're all knives that I carry. Now this one just is absolutely sinister. A crisp blade in itself makes it look sinister, but then you see these serrations. Because a lot of stilettos really aren't that sharp and don't really cut that well. They stab very well, but they don't cut that well. This one will do both. This one will do both, people. The cold steel Ti-Lites, if you don't use them and stuff like that, they're very sharp from the get-go. But after you do start using them, they're not the easiest knife to get back to that razor blade sharpness because it's so thick behind the edge. Because it's a very narrow blade, and these are 4mm thick blades. And so it's like, it just gets real thick behind the edge real quick. So I would suggest if you get one of these knives, don't use it as like a cutting tool. Just save it for a self-defense tool. That'd be my advice for a Ti-Lite or any kind of Italian style stiletto knife. They're not really meant to be everyday cutting task tools. These are self-defense tools. I was told by Angela Campolone back in the day, back in the 90s when I used to be into these knives, and I used to buy my knives straight from Italy, from Angelo, and then sell them on eBay. I used to be an eBay seller. And he told me that the reason why they made the knives like they do, where they're not that like high quality or anything like that, is because they're meant to be throwaways. Because once you use it, you go throw it in the ocean. Get rid of it. Get rid of the evidence. So you don't want to have a knife that's too super fancy and that you're going to want to keep and stuff like that, because it may have some sort of DNA or something, something on it that, can incriminate you. That's what Angela told me. So, when people look at like these types of knives, lots of times they think that they're cheap knives and stuff. Well, they're meant to be disposable. That's a story I got from one of the famous makers of these knives in Italy, Maniago, Italy. All right, next one. Now this one, I absolutely love these knives. This is a Phil Boguszewski design, and if you're interested in these, go look at Phil Boguszewski. I think his name is spelled, it's Phil, Phil, and then his last name is Bog. I think it's USWEZKI or something like that. But go research his knives, and you'll see these knives. But they'll be fancy, because he was a famous knife designer. He's passed away, and I think he passed away in 2013. But he worked with Cold Steel for a minute, and he's the one that designed these knives for Cold Steel, and they're copies of his customs. He's the one that originated the folded over liner leaf spring, which is a very strong liner lock. So to me, it's like one of the only really liner locks I really like, that I feel safe and comfortable with. I carried these knives for a lot of years and never had one fell on me or fold in on my hand. What I mean by a lot of years, from like about 2001 to about 2010 or 11 or so. It's about 10 years I carried them pretty much all the time. This is what I carried before the Triad locks came out. And the Triad locks, I think the first one I got was like in 2009 or something like that, and it was a Voyager, 4-inch Voyager. And and when the Voyager came out, it started to take over this one's spot, because I just like the way that the lock was. I just thought so. And and then they start making the videos and stuff like that, and I just I realized how strong that was. This one would hold like 145 pounds of dead weight, which is a lot of weight for a liner lock. Most liner locks, fail below 100 pounds. Like in between 50 and 100 pounds, they usually fail. So this is a very strong liner lock. But it has a 6-inch blade, crystal blade, Japanese AUS 10A, with the Zytel handle, 7-inch Zytel handle, so it's a total of about 13 inches. Excellent knife, and it can be opened up from your pocket too with the quill ends, just like you do with the wave feature type knife. All right, this one right here, this is Andrew Demko's design of a stiletto to me. Andrew Demko is famous for making heavy-duty, strong, high-performing folders and fixed blades that are super strong and durable and can handle, pretty much anything. His knives are pretty much, I don't know, they're like on the borderline of being like folding fixed blades, if you ask me, especially the ones with the Triad locks. And that's what this is. This one has a 6061 heat-treated aluminum liner. You can't see it right now because it's finished in black, but it is a 6061 heat-treated aluminum not liner, but backspacer. It's got a 400 series stainless steel lock bar. This blade has a Japanese AUS 10A stainless steel blade that is, I think they're listed as like being 4mm, but it's really like about like 3.8. Just about all 4mm cold steel knives are usually around 3.8, 3.85, somewhere right around there. Not quite 4mm. The scales are made out of Griv-Ex. This is a textured Griv-Ex. It has a little bit better grip. Originally, these were kind of like a smooth finish when they first came out. It's a beautiful knife, and it's serrated. These new ones are a lot smoother than the original ones, because you no lock stick. The first ones always had a little bit of lock stick. And the springs were so tight, it was kind of hard to open and close them real easy. These are made just right, if you ask me. It's got a bayonet style blade, which is a saber flat ground blade. The front end has a false edge to it, or a swedge. These are beautiful knives too. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend these. Great knives. Awesome knives. I love triad locks, people. I'm a triad lock person. I think the triad lock is probably the strongest lock on the planet for a folding knife. I don't trust any other lock type more than I trust a triad folding lock. And for big knives, you really need to have a strong lock. You don't want a weak lock on a big, long folding blade, because this comes in on your hand. If it ever came on your hand, it'd guillotine your fingers. So you really want a triad lock on one of these big knives. I'm curious to see what the Mayhem's going to be like. You know, that's the first big lock or a big knife that I've seen without a triad folder that's coming. I mean, with triad lock coming from Cold Steel. Well, I take that back, because they have the Luzon, but the Luzon has a liner lock with a liner lock, and they also have these. And this is a strong setup too. When these fail, usually the lock goes all the way over and it goes into lock blade mode and you can't close it. But on this one, we've all seen the videos. Anybody that's been a connoisseur of cold steel knives, I'm pretty sure has seen the Andrew Demko test of these with, you know, weight hanging and all that kind of stuff like that. So we all know how strong these things are. These are tanks. If you ask me, Andrew Demko is a master of knife locks, of folding knife locks. I don't think anybody makes better folding knife locks than Andrew Demko, or lock designs, or what have you. Excellent knife. Let's wipe this one off too. Let's see a lot of fingerprints on it. Next up, another one of my favorites, the Holdout. It's designed after the Scottish Skene, which was a fixed blade knife back in ancient times, or was like the Renaissance times or what have you. And the Scottish people, men and women, used to carry these. Women used to carry them on their legs and hidden underneath their skirts or dresses or whatever. And for them, it was not only a utility knife, but it was also a self-defense tool. Scottish Skene. This is the Holdout. A lot of people think that these don't have, you know, they won't make a great self-defense knife because they don't have a finger, you know, way to protect your fingers, you know, with a finger guard or finger groove or what have you. But if you hold these like this, because of the way that the handle shape, it starts down narrow and it comes up wider. If you have a good grip, your hand won't go forward because it gets wider as you go forward. So that in itself keeps your hand from sliding forward. Now, if you had a loose grip, I'm sure your hand would slide forward. But you know, if you're in a combat situation, hopefully you have a nice tight grip on something. You're not holding it with a loose grip where it get knocked out of your hand. These are excellent knives too. I like to use these knives for the plain edge one, not so much this one. This one's just for self-defense. But I like to use the plain edge ones for like food prep, cutting up meat and stuff like that in the kitchen, for like butchering duties. This one has a S35VN blade. It's my newest one. It's a GSM. This is a GSM cold steel one. It's got the new label on it. I got at the same time I got these, the Talwars, because I like to carry this one, the Talwar, and this one at the same time when I go on long rides. I will put this inside my leather vest in the gun pocket, and it stays totally hidden. That's one reason why I like this knife. It's a big, long, flat knife that conceals very well inside your leather vest. It doesn't imprint or anything. Nobody will know that you're even carrying it. That's the purpose of this one. It's like a backup to this one, or backup to my firearm if I'm carrying a firearm. Absolutely love it. It's got a 6-inch blade. I think it's a 7-inch handle. Let's measure it out real quick. 6-inch blade. Yep, 7-inch handle, a little bit over 13 inches total length. I'll just call it a 7-inch handle. Because most stilettos, you know, that they're this size with a 6-inch blade. These are all 6-inch blade ones. This one's actually a little bit shorter than 6-inch blade, but they advertise it as a 6-inch blade. But they usually have like 7-inch handles, 6-inch blades, which gives them a total length around 13 inches. That's pretty common. This one has G10 handle scales, S35VN, CPM S35VN. Blade steel, and the cold steel serrations that are meant to be able to be cut through fibrous materials really quick. Cold steel serrations are meant for self-defense use. You know, like when you're in a situation dealing with somebody that's wearing a leather jacket or thick clothing, and you need to be able to cut through that stuff in order to create a wound. That's what this will do. Lots of times you hear me call these my wintertime knives. Knives I like to carry in the wintertime. And people are wearing, you know, a lot of clothes and stuff. Spear point blade. Spear point, drop point. I would call this more of a spear point. It's more like a, you know, like a old classic dagger shape. And the original Italian folding stilettos had a blade that was like this, and they used to call it the standard blade. And it was like a dagger-shaped flat ground blade. Full flat ground blade. This one's 3.8. They advertise this one as being 3.8 millimeters, but it's just as thick as any of these others. So, you know, what they call 4 millimeters is the same thing as this one too. It has a 6061 aluminum backspacer. This one's not polished. The one that I carry a lot, that's plain edge with the CTS BD1 blade, is all polished, and you can see that this is aluminum. But this is a 6061 aluminum backspacer. Excellent knife, people. Excellent knife. Like I said, I carry this one totally hidden, totally concealed. It's not a front pocket knife for me. It's inside my leather vest jacket knife. Okay, coming up. Now this one right here, as you can see, it's the cold steel, new cold steel, GSM cold steel. And if any of you have watched any of my videos on Talwars, you'll know where this one came from. This one right here, I also got a plain edge one. The plain edge one is still in the same original condition I received it in. But this one I repaired. And these are some of the first generation of the XL Talwars that they brought back. When Cold Steel decided to, GSM Cold Steel we decided to bring back the ones that the original Cold Steel company had discontinued years before. The Talwar is one of my favorite all-time folding fighting knives. To me, that's what this is. It's a folding fighter. Just like a Bowie knife is, or a, you know, a knife with a big bayonet blade, or what have you, or a dagger. You know, they're all meant to be folding. I mean, they're all meant to be folding style. I mean, not folding style, but fighting style blades. This is a Persian blade, Persian style blade. And this one has the full serrations, CPMS 35VN. Has a 6061 aluminum backspacer, 400 series lock bar. no liners to keep down the weight, and full thick American G10 handle scales that compose the frame also. It's got the Andrew Dimka weight plate. Now you can see this one doesn't never go in a lock blade mode no more. When I first got this knife, because I'm gonna tell you what was wrong with it. This pin right here, the one in the very front, the stop pin, it was the wrong size. They put in a stop pin, I believe that was like 5.97 or 87, something like that, millimeters thick, but it needed to be a 6.22 millimeter thick stop pin. I traded this stop pin out of one of my original Japanese AUS 8A versions that I had from way back in the day when they first started making these. And I measured all the stop pins and all the ones I had, the CTS-XHP ones and the Japanese AUS 8A ones, and they were all the 6.22 millimeters. And so when they remade this knife, I think they made a mistake by putting in a smaller stop pin than it was supposed to have. They put in a 5.9, I want to say a 5.97 millimeter thick stop pin. And that little bit of difference between the 5.97 millimeters and the 6.22 millimeters made a major difference as into the way that the knife handled. Like when you open it up really fast, the lock bar would sink way down and bottom out, and it would go into what I call fixed blade mode, where the only way you can unlock it would be to push it on the end of a table and force it down and stuff. You couldn't do it with your fingers unless I guess you were super strong or something. And I tried to get repaired by Cold Steel, but they wouldn't repair it because I bought the knives off of eBay when they first came out, and it was before they had any counterfeits. I still don't think that they counterfeit these, but they were acting like that. It might not be a real knife or whatever. It is a real knife. It is a real Cold Steel knife. And it wasn't just me having the problem. I found that a lot of people that bought them from legitimate places, like when I say legitimate, I mean not from an online and not from an eBay seller, but from like places like Midway and Knife Center and I don't know, Blade HQ. Everybody that was carrying them, they all had the same issue. And from what I was hearing from everybody, no, Cold Steel wasn't honoring their warranty. GSM Cold Steel. The original Cold Steel company, they didn't care where you bought it from. They did care if it was their product or not, but they would tell you to send it in. They would take a look at it, and if it was their product, they would either fix it or replace it. So they really honored their warranties on these. But I got so frustrated with the whole issue, and I already had a lot of Talwars anyway, and so I wasn't really like this was going to be my only Talwar that I was going to have. So I had other Talwars, like 5 or 6 other Talwars, this XL's Talwars or whatever that I had to choose from to carry anyway. So I just put this one and the plain edge in the safe and forgot about them. Put them back in the original boxes that they came in and everything like that, and forgot about them because I had it all packaged up to send back to Cold Steel, but they never honored their warranty or let me send it back to them for inspection and repair or replacement. And so anyway, a few years later, somebody challenged me to try to fix it, and so I said, you know what, why not? And so I took it apart and I just happened to measure the stop pins. I don't know why I measured the stop pins, but I think I took apart my old excuse me, I took apart one of my CTS-XHP ones and one of my Oz 8 ones, and I was comparing all the parts. And I found out the stop pins in these were different. The knives looked exactly the same. The blades are, cut and shaped and everything like that exactly the same. The only thing that was different was the labeling. And so, and the stop pins were different. So I put the stop pins from the Oz 8 one into this one, and voila, it worked perfectly. It worked flawlessly. It was absolutely a dream knife. Look at this. No lock stick or nothing. You don't even hear lock stick. See what I'm saying? Let me see if I can do this. I would cut myself. See, it's a perfect fit. And then, you know, I wrote Cold Steel and told them about it. I don't know if they because I wanted them to supply the part to everybody that, you know, because it's just a stop pin. How much does a stop pin cost? This little piece right here, you know, the stop pin. How much does a stop pin cost? You know, how much do you think that would cost Cold Steel? GSM Cold Steel. Would it be worth it just to send that out to everybody that was having a problem and let them fix it on their own? Because it's a real simple fix. All, you know, anybody knows how to pull apart their knife and pull maintenance on it can, you know, change a stop pin. That's no big deal. It's not pressed in or anything. You know, you just pull them out and put another one in. It's not a big deal. And I was trying to get them either to send them out to people or offer them on their website for sale. You know, like the Demkos did with the 80-20.5s and the 80-20S and the 80-20s. Because if you fidget with those a whole lot, you can wear down the spring that, you know, forces the shark lock in position to lock up the blade properly. And you develop a little tiny bit up and down blade play. And it's not because the knife is bad, it's because the spring is wearing out. And I've worn out a few of them on 80-20Ss especially because, you know, those are like fidget toys to me. But you get the spring and you put the spring in there, you know, and they sell like 3 springs for $5 or something like that. And it's a simple fix. You know, why not offer stuff like that so people can repair things or something like that? When you know, if you don't want it, I don't know what the new GSM Cold Steel has going on with it. I don't know, you know, because the old company had a repair station, a repair department in the Ventura, California Cold Steel distributor, or just, you know, where they distributed the knives from. And they had, you know, people that would get the knife and either repair it or replace it. If it couldn't be replaced, it couldn't be repaired, they would just replace it. They let you know they're going to replace it. And I don't know if GSM has that. I know that they moved to Texas, and I don't know if they have that kind of ability to do that. They might be just replacing things. I don't know if they're doing anything. And it seems to me like the only way that you get them to honor the warranty, from what I've understood, is like if you buy your knives from the Cold Steel website, which is, you know, highly marked up. I don't really buy things from the Cold Steel website. Never have. Always bought them from other sources like Midway and, I don't know, Knife Center and Blade HQ and and eBay or wherever other places I get better deals on them. Because the prices that Cold Steel offers at their website are ridiculous, if you ask me. Even when they have sales, they're still expensive. You know, you always get something cheaper at Midway or something when Midway has a real sale. To me, Midway is like the best place to buy Cold Steel knives. And you just don't buy them when they're having holidays. When, you know, just save up your money. And when it's holiday time, that's your time to go to Midway and look for Cold Steel knives that you wanted. Or on your birthday, you know, get on their sign up to their website and you get things on your birthday. And they also send you discount codes, so you get like 10% off, sometimes 25% off on different knives and stuff like that. And so, you know, I don't know, I just like Midway. Midway is one of my favorite places to buy Cold Steel knives. I try to recommend that to everybody. Midway doesn't pay me anything to do that. I don't get any special discount codes to give to people from Midway because Midway doesn't recognize me or whatever. I'm just a customer to them, just like you are if you go there. And but to me, of all the places that I've ever found to buy Cold Steel products from, Midway is like one of the best. The only downside to Midway is that lots of times when new stuff comes out from Cold Steel, they don't have it right away. They'll have it a few months later after it's already been out. And like that's why I usually like to go to like the Knife Center or whatever, or someplace like that, or Blade HQ, because they get stuff when it first comes out. If you want to have something when it first comes out. But I never hardly ever buy stuff from the Cold Steel website. Sometimes they have some good deals. You know, I'm signed up on their site too. Always have been. And sometimes they have really good deals too, but it's like when when they're in clearance mode for something. But this to me is one of the best folding fighting knives that Cold Steel makes. And the reason why is because you got three excellent grips. You got the forward grip, you got the mid grip, and then you got a really nice secure rear grip. So it extends the blade out in the rear grip. To a little bit over about 8.5 inches. We'll say it's 8.5 inches. As opposed to in the forward grip, you're at 6 3/4 inches for reach. I'm talking about reach. I'm not talking about the blade length. I'm talking about reach. Reach from where you grip it from. 6 3/4 inches. Mid grip. 7.5 inches. Rear grip. Almost 8 3/4. I would say 8.5 inches. You know, probably 8.5 inches for most people. Excellent knife. And it doesn't weigh too much. This one weighs less than, like, let's say the Espada. The Espada is another knife I really like too. Well, let's wait for a second. The Espada. This one weighs 8.7 ounces. 8.7 ounces. And it's actually heavier than the first ones that I have. The first one I have from Cold Steel with the Japanese AUS 8A, I think it was closer to 8 ounces. But this one's a little bit heavier, and I think it's because the handle scales aren't texturized as much. And I think that makes a difference in the weight. Because the blade thickness and everything is exactly the same. But the handle scales are different. 8.7 ounces. Absolutely love these though, people. Absolutely love them. These are awesome knives. And the balance on them is 50-50. That's another important thing for a folding fighting knife. Is you want to have good balance so then you can handle it real easily. It's easy to handle and manipulate in your hand. All right, last but not least, my favorite serrated blades from Cold Steel. Last but not least is the Voyager XL, extra large, fully serrated. This is another GSM knife. This one is the smoothest operating Cold Steel Voyager that I own. Now, I've been buying them ever since they first came out. This is probably the smoothest operating Cold Steel Voyager that I've ever owned. That's one thing I noticed about the GSM knives, people. A lot of them, you know, the only one I ever had any problem with, as far as its function is concerned, was the Talwar. And the Talwar wasn't a bad production. It's just that they put the wrong size part in it. Once you put the right size part in it, it operates like a drain. It's super nicely functioning. And these, when from the original Cold Steel company, always were like, didn't open and close very easily. This one does. This one operates like a drain, no lock stick or anything. The holdouts, the old ones operated nice too. So, you know, they didn't really have to change too much in these. Ti-Lite 6 has always operated nice. These, I did some modifications on them, you know, to polishing them out, to get them to operate the way I you know, smooth as I like to make them work or whatever. This one's totally stock, operates perfect. Operates perfect. So, you know, the quality control at GSM Cold Steel that they're using at the Taiwan factory, I can't complain about. It's just this one, I think they just had the wrong part in it. They didn't build it right. For some reason. I don't know what the reason was. But this one, watch this one, people. Hardly any wrist, right? That's a reverse finger flick. And when you do a reverse finger flick down, you don't really have to do anything. Reverse finger flick up. This knife is beautiful. It operates perfect. Thumb stud. They make a little bit different sound, huh? This knife I carry a lot. And this one and the plain edge Voyager are probably the ones I probably carry the most out of all my mega folders. Why? Because these only cost 55 bucks at Midway on sales and stuff like that. They're usually like around $55. And they've always been like that ever since they've been making them. They've always been selling them for the same price. Inflation hasn't changed the price of these. Not when you get them on the Midway sales. That's what I'm talking about, Midway sales. The regular price is like $79 or something like that. 80 bucks. Even at that price, it's a great deal. If you ask me, even at that price, it's a great deal. So this to me is the best bang for your buck when you're getting a mega folder from Cold Steel with a triad lock. This is the best. This is the best. And they have all kinds of blades. I prefer the Tonto blades, as many of you may know. I love Tonto, the American Tonto blade that was created by Lindsey Thompson in the 1980s when they first started Cold Steel. This is one of his signature blades, was the American Tonto. And the reason for it is so you can have a real nice snap cut. Snap cut is a really fast, good defensive deterrent cut. Cuts deep and you can do it super fast like a jab. And then you have the super strong flat ground tip. The blade is hollow ground. The main cutting portion of the blade is hollow ground, so it makes it so that you can have a thick, fairly thick blade stock and still be a great slicer. This knife is a saber hollow ground, just like most Cold Steel knives are saber with Tonto blades are saber hollow grounds. The heavy duty versions, like on the Dimco Warcraft and the SR1, those are saber flat ground knives, and also on the Tonto-Lite. The Tonto-Lite is a saber flat ground blade too. In the Nightfall series, that with the 3V blades that are coated with DLC coating from that Lindsey Thompson and Andrew Dimco original Cold Steel days, those are saber flat ground blades too. These are nice and light, like 7 point something ounces. They're one of the lighter mega folders. 7.9 ounces, almost 8 ounces. So for a knife this size, that's very light. These have full heat treated 6061 aluminum liners with Griv-Ex scales and a Griv-Ex backspacer. Absolutely love these knives. And like these used to always be made with stainless steel, full stainless steel liners with Griv-Ex scales, and the blades were thinner. The blades were like a 3.8 millimeters. This one's like a 4.7 or something like that, almost 5 millimeter thick blade. Whereas this one has the 4 millimeter blade. But to me, 3.8, 4 millimeters, that's a perfect blade thickness for a mega folder, because it doesn't make the knife too heavy. When you start going into super thick blade stocks, like a 5 millimeter blade stock, especially if it's a blade like this as long as this one, this is a 5.5 inch blade, this is a 5.5 inch blade too. It makes the blade and the knife very heavy, because everything has to be thicker. Your lock bar, all your components have to be thicker too. So it ends up making the knife very heavy. And to me, anywhere I'd say from 3.5 to 4 millimeter is a perfect blade thickness for a mega folder, if you ask me. Because a mega folder doesn't need, if a self-defense knife, it doesnn't need to be super thick. You really want it to be more light and agile. And the blade thickness on these is a little bit blade heavy on this one and on the Barong blade, or the drop point blade, because these are the two heaviest blades that they use in these Voyager folders. The other blades, like the clip point, the crisp blade, and the Vaquero blade, those blades are lighter, and you have perfect balance with those. With these though, you have it's a little bit blade heavy. And I go by the finger groove. right? You know, considered the balancing point. So, but if you lay it on its side, it's just right in front of it though. Then you get like your 50-50 balance. That's really wants to be a little bit blade heavy. I just absolutely love these knives because I think this is the best bang for your buck. And this one, I carry these a lot of times. You know, I'll carry this one even in the city sometimes because in my city we have an unwritten law that, or a rule or whatever, that the police sort of follow, that if you have a blade that's over 4 inches, they can confiscate because it can consider it a dangerous weapon. And lots of times, you know, I'll carry this one anyway, just for my personal safety. And knowing that if I get pulled over by police and they see it, they can confiscate it. But it won't be a major loss because it'll only be $55. I can go get another one. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, I have other ones, so I can replace it right away and everything else like that. I don't want to do that with a knife that costs almost $200, or these are almost $200. This one's not that bad. This one's like $80 to about $100. And same with this one. This was fairly inexpensive too. You can get these on sale at Midway for like $50 to $60. So that's not too bad either. But if they see this, they're definitely gonna think that's a weapon. Same thing with this. They're gonna think that's a weapon too because it looks like a stiletto. I know it's considered to be like a big boot knife or something like that, but to me it's designed more after like a big, like an Italian stiletto. It's like a Italian stiletto on steroids. That's the way I think of it. And this is definitely designed after Italian stiletto, which is outlawed everywhere. Not outlawed, but it's considered the bad boy. So as soon as somebody sees something like this, they're thinking that's a fighting knife. Same thing goes for this. They don't think that is like a utility knife or hunting knife or anything like that. Whereas this one, sometimes will slide by because I've been pulled over before and I've had one of these confiscated before, a 4-inch version, but I've been pulled over lots of other times and the police officers didn't even trip on it. Oh yeah, you got the Cold Steel Tonto, the Voyager Tonto. Yeah, that's a cool knife. Yeah, it's a good knife. That's their kind of attitude. Just depends on who pulls you over and what their attitude is towards knives, or if they're a knife person themselves or whatever, and stuff like that. But you can pretty much guarantee that they're going to think that these are dangerous weapons, whereas this one they may not. And to me, this is probably a better fighting knife than these two. Why? Because you got the extended handle. It's got really 2 awesome grips. You go in the rear grip, you got just shy of 8 inches of reach. In the forward grip, you got about 6.5 inches of reach. I was always taught the best fighting knives by my pops, served in the Marines in World War II and Korean War, that the best fighting knives were in between blade reach of in between 6 and 9 inches. So that puts that, that secretly puts this knife in that category, like a K-bar, the same size as a K-bar or something. You depend on what grip you're holding it in. So this is an excellent folding fighter, if you ask me. Lindsey Thompson, he's always liked the Vaquero version of this. I just like my Tontos, people. I like Tontos because they're thick all the way to the tip, and it's a really super strong blade design. Vaqueros I like the Vaqueros too, but I just like this one better. This is the one I prefer. All right, people. Well, those are my serrated blades. These are my serrated blades. Absolutely love all of these. This is one of the ones I recommend the most. Especially if you haven't had one of these knives yet, I would say start out with the Voyagers. That's what I did. I started out with the Voyagers. The Voyagers are awesome knives. Voyagers are awesome knives, people. Can't beat a Voyager. Especially these new ones, they operate, oh man, This one operates so smoothly, I was tempted to go get another one with the plain edge, but I already have a plain edge one from the old company that you know, you guys seem to, I still need to get the Snaggletooth MF aluminum, what do you call it, the wave device or whatever, so you can wave it out your pocket. I haven't done that yet. But this one just operates so smoothly. Somebody was saying that this needs bigger thumb studs. I don't have problems with thumb studs on this one. Because from the closed position, you have such a nice big gap right here that there's plenty of room or space to engage the thumb studs. So I don't have a problem with the thumb studs on this one. Because like on a lot of the more budget models or the Griv-Ex models of cold steels, they use like these types of thumb studs as opposed to, well, I don't have like one of my other knives, but like as opposed to like the ones on the 8010 or something, where you got those nice big thumb studs. Those are like the ones that they use on their more high-end knives. This is an excellent knife, people. Same thing with this one. This one's an excellent knife. Once you put the right size stop pin in it, this one rocks too. No blade stick, no lock up. The lock bar doesn't sink down too far. None of that. It works perfectly. It works the way it should have. Always worked from the factory from the get-go. If they would have been paying more attention to it when they first produced this knife. And I wish Cold Steel, would man up and either allow people to get the right size stop pins for these, or supply them to the people that have been having problems with them. I don't think that'd be any big expense for them, and I think it would improve their status with their customers. This one was perfect. This one's perfect from the get-go. That one's perfect from the get-go. Now the one I do wish that they had a wider thumb stud is on these, because sometimes I will misfire on one of these because there's not that much space, as opposed to like this one where you engage your thumb stud at. See how this one you have a lot of space, and this one you don't have so much space. And this one has thicker handle scales. It's like they're more contoured. So it's a little bit harder to engage the thumb stud. You really got to pay attention to what you're doing and put your thumb down in there. But if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, like let's say in a distressed person, in a distressed situation, you might do this. That's what I find myself doing a lot of time on this one. But see, I'm aware of it, so I pay attention to that. But that's the only gripe I got about this knife, though, is I wish it had a little bit wider thumb stud. And not necessarily fatter or bigger or anything. It just needs to be wider. It's not wide enough. It needs to extend out further because of the way that the handle's made. I think if they extended out like to out here a little bit more, it'd be easier to naturally grab or engage. This one's perfect. It's a right hand only knife, though. You got this for right hand. But see how this thumb stud comes out wide? If this one had a thumb stud that came out like this one, it'd be perfect. You guys see what I'm talking about? This one is like sits inside the handle scales, whereas this one extends outside the handle scales. So on this one, it's not hard to get to the, see how you see the thumb stud? Where on this one, it's hidden. You don't see it. So unless you're aware of that issue, it makes it hard to get to. It's like where this one is super easy to get to. See that? That's how this one needs to be. And because this one's super easy to get to, it's super fast and it's super easy to engage the thumb stud. That's the only thing I got to say about that one. Tiger claw. I love my little tiger claw. I think this is one of my nastiest looking little 3.5 inch blades I own. Nothing's more intimidating than, no, I don't know of any other 3.5-inch blade that's more intimidating looking than the Tiger Claw. The black Talon II is menacing also. It's a menacing looking blade. Oh, and this one, it's just badass. The Spartan, the 300. You can still get these for $99, I think. I think it's the deal of the century. It's the best deal I've seen all year for any kind of folding knife, for any kind of folding knife. This one right here. This is the best self-defense knife you can get for $99. One that, you can carry pretty much anywhere. I know everybody's got different rules and laws and regulations, so I shouldn't say that. Depends on where you live. You always got to check in with your rules and see how much trouble you would get in if you got caught carrying it. Don't ever carry anything that could get you tossed in prison right off the bat. Like in my state, that would be a gravity knife, a balisong knife, or a switchblade, a fully auto knife. I'm not talking about spring assisted. I'm talking about full autos, ones that have push buttons or whatever, or OTF type knife or whatever. Those will get you sent to jail if the cop wants to, really get on your case and send you to jail. And if you get pulled over and you have one of those knives on you, like I did in that one instance with the Benchmade balisong, which was a very expensive knife, it had titanium handles and all that kind of stuff. The police told me that there was a CHP highway patrolman motorcycle cop on a Harley Davidson, and he told me that he saw the knife hanging out my pocket and he confiscated it, and he's not going to make, file any charges or make a note of it or anything. And he let me know that it was illegal to carry it, as a felony to carry it. At that time, I didn't know all that. I was a young man. And so I went and found out the rules and regulations. I was like, whoa, I could have been taken straight to jail. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. And so if you get in that kind of situation, you have something like that, and the cop sees it, let him confiscate it. If he's not going to send you to jail, whatever, I don't care if he's keeping it for himself. Let him have it. It's a lot. A knife doesn't cost as much as court fees or jail time or loss of your freedoms and your privileges or anything like that. Don't argue with police over knives. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's kind of stupid to me. If the police officer says it's a dangerous weapon, don't sit there and argue with them. Well, I'm an African American. I'm a mixed blood person. You know what I'm saying? I got Irish, and I got Irish, English, Scottish, and German blood in me, and Native American blood in me, and African blood in me. I'm totally mixed up. I'm a mutt. But I was always taught by my parents, don't argue with the police, number one. Because they'll think you're a black person or a person of color, so don't argue with the police, number one. And so maybe I have that kind of mentality from the get-go, where, I don't try to sit there and argue with the police. I've seen YouTube videos where, young white kids, they get on the YouTube, they look for police to argue with. They'll carry a weapon outside, or, totally unconcealed or something like that. And they argue about their Second Amendment rights and all that kind of stuff. And then they don't get arrested or whatever. I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't go out looking for trouble. I don't want the police to notice that I have anything. I don't want the police to even want to come and bother me. I try to stay away from the police. Why would anybody want to attract the police's attention in the first place? Unless you're a rich person, you can afford all the legal fees and lawyer fees and everything like that to keep your butt out of jail or whatever. But, even then, why? Why would you want to, risk, losing some of your privileges or your freedoms, even if you only go to jail for one day or something like that? Why would you want to do that? That doesn't make sense to me. That's the reason why I believe in carrying things concealed. Out of sight, out of mind. The sheeple aren't going to report you to the police saying that they saw you walking down the street with something hanging out your pocket or whatever, or on your hip or whatever, so you don't have to worry about any police coming into contact with any police. The goal to me is to be totally inconspicuous and carry things concealed and never come into contact with police. I try to never come into contact with police. I don't have nothing against law enforcement. I think law enforcement's necessary, because there's a lot of crazy people out there. And we need people to, help try to keep our neighborhoods safe and all that kind of stuff. I don't have nothing against law enforcement, but it's just that I've learned in my life, you're better off when you don't come into contact with them. Simple as that. And if you do come in contact with them, be like, yes, sir, no, sir. Show some manners, has to show some respect. And lots of times they'll just leave you alone. I can't count how many times I've gotten out of tickets and stuff for speeding on my motorcycle or in a car or something. And I was just like, yes, sir, no, sir. Yeah, yes, you're right, sir. I didn't argue with them or anything. And then they let you go. Because lots of times, I think they get so many people that want to argue with them and try to lie their way out of stuff. And they know they're lying their way out of stuff and stuff. So, they don't respect that. And that's when they really want to give you a ticket or, arrest you or whatever. It's better to, not argue with the police. And if they are doing something wrong, secretly, memorize their badge number or something, but don't sit there and ask them for it, because then they'll feel intimidated. I don't know. That's just the way I am, people. That's just the way I am. I just like to see people not get in trouble. And sometimes it's better to be, it's better to suck up a little bit of your pride and be smart than to be full of pride and be arrogant and irritate people. Irritate people that have the power to, either cause you harm or arrest you or take away some of your freedoms or make you have to go through the expense of whatever they want to make you go through. And to me, arguing with the police is, I don't know, I'm just going to say it's stupid. I think it's stupid. Unless you're looking for trouble. Unless you want to be the next YouTube video of somebody getting shot or arrested or whatever, I don't understand all that. You want to be a viral video or something. I don't know. I don't understand all that. That's not the way I want to be a viral video. But anyway, people, stay cool. Peace. Stiletto. Have a great day. Today's Saturday. Saturday, the